the goal is always be strong, not skinny. People think skinny is the thing, lose weight, but it's not a number thing. It's fat to muscle ratio thing. You can't pour into others unless you pour into yourself. You will carry that energy with you.
There's never not a wedding. There's never not someone's birthday. There's never not someone's anniversary. It's hard to say no to people, but once you do, you start choosing yourself.
I have a million women that come to me mid-40s and they're like, all of a sudden I have anxiety. I never had anxiety my whole life. I never had anxiety. And their doctors want to give them like an SSRI or something like that. And it's not a serotonin issue. It's a hormone issue.
When I got my alopecia diagnosed, they said it was brought on by stress, and they told me to stress less. And I'm like, that's your fucking advice, stress less.
When I look at people's lab work, what it looked like before they saw me, and then 6 months in, and I'm like, holy crap, like, we're saving your life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. Today we have Nicole Waterhouse, founder and CEO of Alpha Health, doctor of nursing practice, hormone optimization, medical weight loss, and wellness for women. Welcome to the studio, Nicole.
Funky, look at that pink. I love it.
Yes, my studio engineers picked that out just for you.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, women's health, so pink to represent.
I love it. Pink it out.
Now, you're the founder and CEO of Alpha Health. Now, leading into starting your business, how did that all come to be?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a healer. I have empathy for others and I like to give back. So, I worked in conventional medicine for so many years in the emergency department. I worked in emergency medicine for like 15 years in the ER. Super awesome job. It was great. It was fulfilling. It was, I'm an adrenaline junkie. So, fast-paced energy, like the emotions, all of the emotions that you go through in a full day of like, each room, a baby being born, a death in the other room, and then you go over there and you just have to stitch someone. It's a lot, and it's great, but it's taxing and it's hard at the same time. And emergency medicine, conventional medicine in general, it's kind of more reactive. Everything I learned in nurse practitioner school and in medicine, and it kind of is extremely reactive, and it's for the most part are basic, like American healthcare systems, super reactive to things. And we don't really focus on the preventative side. So in college, I was a personal trainer. I've always been really into like exercise and nutrition. And I realized, I think COVID really opened my eyes the most to this. I've always seen it, but it opened my eyes the most. Like, okay, the people that are doing the worst, that aren't as doing as well, when they do contract this virus, they tend to have a lot in common. And a lot of those things are these chronic medical conditions, right? And a lot of it's preventable. So this really just set me on this path of like, okay, root cause, let's see, like what could we prevent? How many of these things are preventable through basic movement, diet, exercise, nutrients, micronutrients, macros, and then other things. I got really involved in like the hormone space because hormones are really everything. Hormones tell us they run the majority of our biologic functions, and they're responsible for our mood and our appetite and our sleep-wake cycle and our energy, focus, drive, sexual well-being, all the things. And there isn't much of a focus, and a lot of medical people have no clue on hormones. So I met a few mentors, and things in life, I think they just happen in waves. And for myself at that time, while I was going through this journey, things just began falling into place. I met someone and they happened to, like, I met a few mentors that had clinics similar to my clinic, and they kind of helped me to build the business, and it's funny, as with a medical background, I know nothing about business. I didn't know how to start a business or what that entailed, or finances and hiring a business accountant and all the things, right? But luckily I met a ton of people that were super helpful to me. And that's how I started Alpha. So we are a hormone, basically like a generalized health optimization center. And our focus is to deliver really health and well-being across the health span. So we treat the majority of our clients are, 30 plus, and it's, they're starting to feel as if they don't feel as well as they had maybe, or they don't have as much energy, or maybe they want to lose a little weight, or, whatever it may be, they may be going through a tough time, and we help them to do that. And each like treatment plan is super personalized. We do lab work, we monitor them, we set goals, we follow up in a few weeks, we make sure they're reaching their goals, and then we, establish more goals. And it's just kind of this life cycle of helping people to just be the best that they can be throughout their entire life and feel the best that they can.
I love that. I can relate to everything you said right from the startup. I had mentioned to you that I worked with the same organization for almost 20 years before I started up my business, and that I had a life change of trajectory, from that point on. And so like some circumstances came up that changed my life, and all of a sudden I found myself starting my own business, but I had only worked for somebody else's business before, never started my own. So I was not in the startup process of my former employer's business. I came on board 4 years later. So while I learned everything from the ground up, for my career path, I'd never been privy to the startup process. So that was new for me. I had to learn it. And I found, I had all these great mentors from all the years that I was committed to doing what I was doing. I had mentors that knew that, they were willing to bet on me.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to
Yeah.
help each other, Everyone starts somewhere. And,
Yeah.
it's really important that we connect. And these human connections are really important. And you really never know. I try to treat everyone the same, no matter who you are, what you do. Like, I try to find out their name, learn a little bit about someone. You really never know in life how you can help someone, give, and then you never know in life when someone will be willing to help you because you are a good, kind, well-liked person too.
Absolutely. I agree. Now, is your business primarily focused on women's health,
Yeah,
or? Okay, got it. That's great. I think that that's great because there's everybody needs their niche, and
right.
I think that that's great because I think your business is so important because healthcare is changing and people are finding their way to wellness peptides. I've been using. Quite sure you're familiar with BPC 157.
Of
I've been using
course.
BPC 157 for years. I'm a huge fan of BPC 157. It works for me. I also have a wellness business that I'm connected to. I've got my guy, Dave. He's my guy over at the place I'm connected to, and he does what you do. I
Great.
think they work, I can't remember if they work with both men and women or just men.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the scoop is on that, but and I know Allie Gilbert, who's in our network, and she's got the
Yeah.
Silverback Summit, and her primary focus is men.
Yep.
Helping men optimize, doing the same thing you're doing. I think it's great, and people are really starting to pay attention to their hormones and testosterone levels. And
Absolutely.
I think I was watching a clip. You recently did an episode with Dan
Yeah.
Sikowski, on the Big D podcast, or was
Yeah.
it Intrepidus?
Intrepidus. Yes.
Intrepidus. Okay, got it. Because he's got two podcasts. He's like
Yep.
doing double time over there. Great guy. He's also a part of our network. And you were talking about testosterone levels, and I think you mentioned your grandfather's testosterone level. You want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about testosterone
Sure.
levels?
Sure, of course. I'd be happy to. So it's funny. Currently, I do treat men and women. I'll just start off by saying that I treat both. And oddly, originally I treated only men. The name of my company was Alpha Male Health and Testosterone Center, LLC, and we only treated men. And what I found, I was trained in women, but we only treated men initially. And I found that men felt great, and then their wives would come, or girlfriends, or sisters, and they were like, could you help me? Like, I need help. I want to feel the way he feels. I saw how he was, and now I want to feel that way. So I began treating women, and now probably like 80% of my clientele are women. And I would never turn down a man. I think everyone needs help, and I'm more than willing. I'm trained. I treat both. It's just women, we need a little bit of extra, like it's not just one hormone, it's multiple hormones. There's a whole balancing act that we have to take into place. A lot more side effects can happen, and women just need a little bit more finesse. So I think there aren't enough people that treat women, and that's why I decided, okay, like I'm a woman, people relate to me from where personally I came from prior to starting treatment with hormone replacement therapy and, doing all the lifestyle modifications that helped me to be where I am today. People can relate and see, like, okay, I could help you. Like my goal is to help you. And so now I'm focusing on women. I think it's much needed. And finally it's coming into focus. I think a lot of women are getting into it.
Well, it's perfect, and you just happen to be a woman, so
Yeah,
you might
exactly.
know what you're talking about.
Maybe a little
I
bit.
think that's awesome. And so, and we're connected through Bedros Koulian. Obviously, that network is just a wealth of folks who are in the fitness industry, in the wellness space, and I'm sure you're connecting with a lot of great people, and everyone's looking to
Yeah.
take each other to the next level. And Legacy Tribe is fantastic, and I'm sure that you'll find some pretty good collaborations through that network too. I think. Well,
Yeah.
this collaboration alone, I'd be happy to have you on again anytime you've got anything going on. And you're in the New Jersey area.
Yep.
You're in New Jersey over there with Dan Sikowski, but he's like in the woods and you're in the city. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I live like 20 minutes outside of New York City. So
Oh,
we're like the
cool.
suburbs of New York City where I am in Jersey.
Awesome. So what's it like out there? Like what a lot of hustle and bustle. I've never been. It's on my bucket list to get out to that area.
You have to
And
come.
yeah, I know. Well, there's so many folks in the Legacy Tribe that are out there that I've
Yeah.
got like 4 connections out there that I'm like, now I've got to get out there, you
You
know?
have to. Yeah, it's great. I
Yeah.
mean, it's busy. It's New York. It's the city that never sleeps. It's everything. Rat race. I was born here. I breathe it. It's kind of like you could take the girl out of the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. Like I've
That's
always
awesome.
been I've lived different places like through schooling and but I've always had this like I don't know if it's where I'm from or just me myself like I have this drive in me. I can't explain it, but it probably a lot has to do with just location and where I live and how we function here, but it's been beneficial, I'd say.
Yeah. Now, have you always been, did you grow up in that area? You grew up there?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So have you always been into fitness? Fitness has always been a part of your life,
Yeah.
active, and yeah, that's
Yeah, I played
beautiful.
sports in high school, like softball. I was captain of the softball team and then I cheerleaded. I was captain of the cheerleading squad. Like I've always been pretty active and my mom had me involved in like, every sport basically as a kid to see which fit what fit best. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever tried jujitsu? Have you gotten into any martial
not
arts at all?
yet, but that's
You got
on
to
my
do it.
bucket list for
Yeah, well, you
sure.
know who's in our network is Lyman Good from Tiger Schulman. He's got
Yeah.
the Tiger Schulman School, and
Yeah.
you should go over there
I
and
should. It's not far
sign.
from me either, so I should go to his actually.
Were you at the meetup in Temecula at the Black Site Ranch Legacy Tribe year one?
No.
No, okay,
No.
because that's where Lyman was there, and so Lyman and Mika,
Yep.
his partner Mika, yeah,
Yeah.
both beautiful souls, such great people, and
Yeah.
that was another event that was like it was intimate, but it was big at the same time, and it was a lot of people to connect with at once. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
only a day event, like where you and I were at the mastermind. I think you
Yeah.
sat kitty corner for me. I know exactly where you sat, and you sat
Yes.
next to I want to say Kara from
Yep.
Kara. Yes,
Yes.
I've got to have her on the podcast too. And wasn't your sister also at the mastermind?
Nope. I don't.
No.
No,
Okay.
she wasn't. No.
Okay.
No, not my sister. My like I made so many friends that I feel like I'm related. I feel like I'm
Okay.
related to everyone, but no.
I couldn't tell. Everyone seemed so tight. I was like, everyone seemed like they knew each other. Maybe you just connected with someone because you have that personality. And I'm like, that must be her sister. Well, there
Yeah.
were so many, so many people like
Yeah.
to observe and connect with, and everyone
great.
kind of got up and went around the room and introduced themselves. Yeah, that was a great event. Now, I mean, just back to the wellness space and fitness. I know, keeping your goals is obviously something you're good at because you're fit, you're an entrepreneur, you're a successful business woman in the space, and you know getting into the new year, everybody is like locked in pretty hard on their commitments, but come February, March, everyone starts to fall off. What are some tips that you can give to the audience to kind of stay committed, especially women, if that's your space?
Yeah.
Like, what
Okay.
can you share with the audience to kind of keep on task?
I appreciate that. So I would say planning ahead is huge. I every morning I wake up and I set my intentions. I write a list of my to-do list. I make a whole to-do list and I start my day with a little bit of journaling and then I read a book like 10 to 20 pages in my book that I'm currently reading. And then I go and work out. So I do this specific routine every single day. And it just kind of makes me feel productive and makes me feel as if I'm like stacking wins. So starting the day working out, I'd say if we want to discuss exercise, I think, people oftentimes in my clients every day, I see this and hear it like, I don't have time. I work too much. I don't have time, and like it's super important to self reflect and say, listen, we all have 24 hours in a day and priorities, you have to prioritize. Like that's it. If something's your priority, you're going to do it, right?
Yep.
If your priority, if you need to make yourself a priority. And to my females, it's super important, and I stress this, you can't pour into others unless you pour into yourself and you feel complete. You really have to love yourself. You want to feel good, and you will carry that energy with you, and people will feel that energy, and then you can help others. But if you constantly only are doing things for your spouse or your significant other, your partner, your children, your dog, the household, and you feel empty, you feel depleted. I mean, I have women come in, they're in chronic exhaustion state, and like they ends up in adrenal fatigue, which with a like super high or like bottomed out cortisol level, which is our stress hormone. That's the whole nother episode. But it affects you, and then you can't lose weight, and you wonder why you're not losing weight, and you're not sleeping well, and you're like constantly in a state of stress. And they go to their doctors, and their doctors say, oh, here's an antidepressant because you're probably depressed. And it's like, no, there's a much more holistic way of looking at this and treating it, right? Way before, there are like 1,000 other things you can do before just giving SSRI, like just a pill to someone.
Yeah.
That's, there are other things that can help. So I think to keep our goals in check, I think you have to sit down and plan them out, and realize that it's possible things are going to get in the way, something's going to come up. How could you plan around that? What can you do to help yourself? And really, I think working out in the morning has been the best thing for me. I used to try to work out after school. I have children, 2 young kids, and things come up, right? Like I would try to work out when they got out of school. I mean, it never happened. Like something came up, one was sick, something happened. So get it done in the morning. Just get it out of the way, and you'll feel great. You're much more likely to make positive food choices at that point, right? Because you already worked out. You started the day. You have been, performing your morning ritual, and you exercise. You feel great. You're much more likely to eat a healthy breakfast than to go, blow it on something. So
I agree. And I appreciate your holistic approach to everything, because that's more of my approach also. I'm not a big fan of medications, being in the mental health space and working with all the men and women that I've supported over the course of the years. Just since I was 18, I just turned 47, and I've watched so many overly medicated people, number one, lose their life. Number two, throughout the process, experience so many side effects, just as being guinea pigs for the prescribers. It's like they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're they're going to test that out on you, and not everybody's body responds to medications the same. That's why there's those side effects. I mean, they list them out, and it's like, Jesus Christ, who would want that? Like half the time the side effect is like you see the commercial roll, and it's like, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and anal leakage. I don't want any of that. Like, no.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's awful. So I appreciate your holistic approach, and just getting to, for anybody in the morning, just kind of staying on task, even if it's just like a short walk. You know what I mean? Just kind of get your wheels turning and clear your head, because you are going to get bombarded with 37 things throughout the day that are going to try to take you off your regimen or your plans. Yeah. And I think too, if you're journaling those things down and you're more intentional, like you pointed out, that you do that's a daily practice for you. There's something to the power of putting pen to paper.
Yeah. For sure.
It just makes it happen, it seems like. It comes to fruition. I think that's a good practice for anyone. And kind of clearing your head too, clearing your thoughts. I think, you can't beat that. You can't beat a clear head, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
I think moving on into kind of the nutrition end of it too, like saying no is okay. Like for you're speaking to the women that might find their way into to your business as a client. Saying no is okay too. Like we talked kind of before we got rolling about dry January. I know you said you're doing dry January,
Yep.
no alcohol. I'm doing no Facebook. So that can be like they can both be toxic, right? So
Absolutely.
exactly. So I like to eliminate things out of my life. So I'll often put myself through challenges where I'm like, all right, just do no coffee, like 90 days, and then like I'll switch over to like green tea, or
Oh,
just, hot water or something like that. And I switch it out. And sometimes I drop something and never go back to it because it was like, wow, 90 days kind of is a very revealing time
right.
frame. So it's like if you're committed to a fitness goal, probably within 90 days, you're going to see results if you're taking like progress photos and things like that. And also like if you're dropping a habit that doesn't always serve your best interest, like if it makes you feel, coffee, caffeine can, it takes you up, takes you down, you get the
Yeah.
headaches and all those things. And sometimes we need an extra boost of energy, but sometimes you can kick those types of habits to the curb, and
Yeah.
then it will just reveal itself after a good run of 90 days like, shit, I don't even need that in my life.
Right. For sure. I think it's
Yeah.
like that with things, foods, any habits, people too, right? There are
I
certain
think
people that maybe drain you too, that like you
yes.
have to be like, take a step back and then you realize, wow, like I'm kind of better off without that person in my life. I feel better. Like they're an emotional vampire. They're like just it's not good for me. And it's
That's a
important
great
to look at
point.
that too.
Yeah, I was going to say because we were also talking about just saying no to invitations. It's you can't say yes to everything, and you were pointing out too, like a lot of your clientele might have kids. Like you said, you have two kids, and
Yeah.
you're running a business, and you're trying to manage all of your social media. It's like you don't have this enormous like media team that does everything for you. A lot of people are
Yeah.
doing these things themselves, and it can be draining and just daunting. Like
Yeah.
you want to detox from it, but the way that business is these days, it's social media is a very important platform for helping people get their get their business out there and bring in more clientele and helping
Absolutely.
others. So you have to manage that, you know what I mean? You have to manage how you feel with how you're utilizing your time in within the social media platform, and
Mm-hmm.
uh who your inner circle is, so to speak, like who you're letting in, and who you're giving your energy to.
Yeah.
So just saying no to invitations for me was huge. It was just like, oh my God, there's never not a wedding. There's never not someone's birthday. There's never not someone's anniversary. You know what I mean? Like, and everything is like $100 for this, $100 for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're giving gifts all the time, and this, that, and the other. And I know when I was starting up my business, I had to get very comfortable with saying no to a lot of invitations, which pissed a lot of people off because you're not so accessible anymore. And it's like, man, I can't go out to the bar tonight. Like, I got to get up in the morning and I want to feel good. So that means no drinking tonight. And I don't want to go like eat a big plate of fucking hot wings
Right.
at
Exactly.
Wingdings down the street. Like, I want to get up and I want to feel good and I want to, stay on task. It's,
Yeah.
it's hard to say no to people, but once you do, it's empowering and it's addicting. And then you just kind of figure out, like, you start choosing yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Last night was the first time I went out to dinner with a friend who's visiting from Florida. And we went to this really nice steak restaurant and I didn't have a glass of wine. And I think in my whole entire life, adult life, like I wouldn't, I've never done that. I've literally never done it. And I was like, yeah, like
Yeah.
win because it's like, I don't need this. Like, I feel great. This morning I got up at 4 a.m. I worked out, like, and listen, I was never like an alcoholic and I don't drink in excess, but it's just one of those things like I empowered myself and now I'm like, okay, I could do this. Like,
I
just
think it's
for
very
yourself.
cool, and you and I both talked too a little bit earlier, and it's like you're not making any kind of declaration that you're never going to drink again. You're just simply
Right.
making an intentional point to not drink for 30 days. I like to challenge myself to know I can do
Right.
something. A lot of it was shocking when I started doing these things about 10 years ago. I was like, I used to, drink and party and smoke cigarettes and do all the things, and I'm a
Hmm.
good time, and I'm
Yeah.
good at making bad choices.
Same.
So like
Same.
yeah, and so I picked up on that, and I just started thinking like, wow, can I not do this? Like, can I not do that? Do I control this, or does that control me? And I just started thinking
Right.
from that perspective, and I would do these things, and people would be like, oh my god, I could never disconnect from my phone for that long, from
Hmm.
social media for that period of time. Like I'd do no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing all at once,
Yeah.
and people just would tell me all the time they could never do it, and I'm like, really? That's fascinating. You could never do that. And then so I
Right.
would be on to the next thing. I'm like, well, what about alcohol? Because that's like a lot of times, in your 20s and your 30s, like in the mental health field, that's what your circle is. It's a lot of heavy drinkers, and like
Right.
at one point I questioned alcoholism within myself, because that's just the culture. It's like what
Right.
everybody, it's what you do. Like you get
Right.
off work, you unwind, you go out for the weekends. That's your
Right.
20s and your 30s. And it's slowly, like as I got into my late 30s and started my business, I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't sustain a lifestyle like that, because it wouldn't it's not I would never have been able to launch my business like that. And running with that crowd, it never would have ever happened.
Right. I think it's interesting that you spoke to this because, we're similar personalities, and there's a lot of people in our space, in our obviously in the legacy tribe, in our network in general, and we're all kind of, for the majority of us, we're like this type A, go getter type, go hard, go fast. And I think, you know, I tell people all the time, people will say, "Oh, you're lucky that your life is working out this way," or "Wow, you stepped in shit," like whatever it may be. And it's like, no, I mean, I kind of disagree. I mean, of course, things you meet people for a reason, and I think in life you end up where you're meant to be, but it's not without, hard work. Like people don't see how hard you work, and also just the type of human being that you are. I think I say, if I weren't doing this, I would be doing something else and I'd be kicking ass at that because
Yeah.
no matter what I do, and even you're speaking about like partying and like being the life of the party, like I'm fucking great at that too.
Yeah.
Like, and I was amazing at that. So, like,
Yeah.
no matter in life and I try to empower my clients this way too, like, whatever you do in life, kick ass at it, like, whatever
Yeah.
you choose to do. And I think for myself, that's just the kind of person I am all around. Like I want
Yeah.
to be the best at whatever I try to do, the best I am or I can be at anything. So,
Yeah.
if it weren't one thing, it would be another thing.
I agree. I agree. The same thing. It was like I started paying attention to, why are you sitting at certain people's tables? I just started looking at like why do these people always want me around? Like I started paying attention to like who, like when someone has you, when you're always invited somewhere, like why is that? Is it because you're the life of the party, or is it because, you know what I mean? Like what is that all about?
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, certain people just strategically have people in their life that they like, that are the life of the party for that reason. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
was like, you just start removing yourself from those tables. And then
Right.
you realize, like, okay, I can be the life of my own party in another way.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I like having a good time, and I have not made any kind of declaration that I will never have a sip of alcohol ever again. That has never been a declaration I've made, but I can legit go a year or more, and I have. Without having any kind of alcohol. And if the time is right and I feel like doing that, I'd do it. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Exactly.
it's on my terms and things like that. And that's when it's like, you start making those intentional choices and kind of turning down invitations, and people start getting kind of funny about that. And I was like, well, I could go out, but if it's going to be an issue for me not to drink. Like you went out with your friend, you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the wine. Like, did
Right.
you feel like you were in the middle of an after school special, like getting peer
No.
pressured by that person? See, like that's lame to
Right.
me when you go out with someone and they feel like you need to drink too. Like
Right. No, he
that's
said, I said, go
ridiculous.
ahead, you could have one. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it was like, I'm like, oh, I'm doing dry January, you know? And I said, you could drink. He's like, no, if you're not drinking, I'm not going to drink either. Like,
Yeah,
no
there
big
you go.
deal. So
Cool.
I'm like, do you, man? Like, whatever makes you happy, like, just do you.
Yeah, I've often been in the space where if someone's drinking, they need you to have a drink too, and I'm just like, well, what is that? Like, I don't, like, just do you,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. I'm fun
I,
without any substance, like anything. I'm
and
just a good time anyway.
yeah, exactly. And then you just kind of find you kind of find yourself with different interests. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like focusing your time towards when you are starting to work out and you have a clear head, all everything else like unfolded for me. It was like I started putting pen to paper because I would work out and I'd be like, shit, I gotta write that down. Cause like all my ideas come to me. You know what I mean? All my
Same.
creativity comes to me like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that oxygen flow to the brain is serious. Like I tell people all the time, people think working out is about looking good. That's just a side effect of working out.
Yep.
The working out literally it's here that it works on. Like I work out because it makes me feel good. I all my ideas. I come home from around, I'm like, oh yeah. I'll like tell my family, I have an idea. Blah blah blah. I think we should do and everything, almost everything in life, my ideas came to me while I was like working out pretty hard, you
Yep,
know?
I love
And
that. I can totally relate to that. I call it
mhm,
mental management because my aesthetics came from the effort I was putting in to just kind of manage myself mentally. I was just,
yeah,
my
for sure.
focus in starting a business. It's you have to be a little bit crazy to start a business because you're going all in and you're betting on yourself. So like
Yeah.
if that doesn't, if it doesn't launch, it's all on you.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
get it. Yep.
Yeah.
I get up at 2 in the morning. I know you're an early riser too, because
Mhm.
if I jump on the phone, I am on Instagram right now,
Yeah.
but I'm not on Facebook. And so I catch your workout sometimes in the morning. Now I get up at 2 in the morning because that works best for me, and I don't have kids, so I'm
Right.
not on a schedule. Like I'm not on their schedule.
Right. Yeah.
So that 2 a.m. time works for me, and I found my way getting into that just from kind of not going out at night. It's like,
That's
okay,
great.
like I can like wind down around 6:30, be in bed by 7, wake
Yeah.
up at 2, boom. I mean, I
Yeah.
can stay up late if I need to, if I'm going
Mhm.
somewhere or there's an event and I have
Right.
to travel. You kind of adjust, but for the most part, yeah, I'm in bed early and then early to rise at 2. And if I'm not working out in my garage, which I transformed into a gym, and I go to the 24-hour gym, it's
Yeah.
great because nobody's there. You know what I mean? No
Right.
one's no one's there at 2 a.m.
Oh, that's amazing. I have to tell you, I was at the gym when I went to my gym on Saturday and I was like, oh my goodness. I went at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, there was no place to lift. There were no weights. It was crowded with so many people. I'm like, oh no, it's the
Yep.
beginning of January. Here we go.
Yes. Yeah, that's hilarious because that's my biggest pet peeve is going to the gym because I'm just there like I'm not there to socialize. Like I'm not a chatter. I don't like
Right.
chatting at the gym. I got my
No.
earbuds in, my music, and like I told you, like my ideas are coming, my creativity is coming. Like that's my peak time. So
Right.
I don't like the distraction of other people. And so at 2 a.m., like I don't have to wait for any equipment. I can walk. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
pace throughout
I
the
love it.
gym. It's all for you. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like one or two people there, but like everyone, we know each other and we know like, hey, you just give the shout out like, what's
Like
up?
I'm
And then
here. Nice to
yep.
you.
And
Yeah.
you stay on your side and I'm gonna stay on my side. And we're not gonna like be bumping into each other.
Right. Awesome.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the goals that you've got cooking for 2025? I know you're definitely focused on getting your business out there on podcasting and YouTube.
Yeah. So, podcasts, YouTube, getting out there. We're trying to like expand. I just hired a bunch of staff, so we're just trying to like help bring health and wellness to everyone, every woman, everywhere in the country. So we're trying to expand nationally. So
Now,
lots of work.
do you do any of the telehealth type stuff? So like
Yeah.
so if someone were seeking your services, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be a resident of New Jersey and come see you in
No.
person. They can reach out to you on your
Yep.
website. They can schedule an appointment and then you can
Exactly.
do like a Zoom meeting or
Exactly. Yeah, we
yeah.
could do like a telehealth intake and I send them for lab work. They could go anywhere in the country. I get the lab results back within like 2 days. So then we would schedule like a Zoom call, and we would go over everything and come up with a treatment plan. And I'm in the process of hiring other like nurse practitioners or other medical providers in other states too. So if people did want like in-person visits, then we would have a physical location for them there as well. It's a lot of logistics we're working on right now, but we're getting there. So
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people in that space. So I have got a lot of friends and connections in that space, and so I can, give a testimonial that that's a beautiful and needed business. I
yeah,
think that anybody that's helping people find their way like holistically into peptides and hormone therapy is, that's
right.
it's really the path to travel down. There's a couple of other peptides that I'm crazy about. Have you ever heard of Cmax?
I have heard of it. I have not used it yet. Have you?
Yeah, I do. I use it. It's a nasal
Okay.
spray. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fantastic. Yep.
Okay.
BPC 157 and Cmax nasal spray are like two of my favorites, two staples of mine. I've been using them for years. I can definitely give a testimonial on those.
Yeah.
The Cmax is like such a blessing in helping with focus
Yeah.
and
Clarity,
just
focus.
mental clarity. It's kind of one
Yeah.
of those overall broad peptides that
Yeah.
kind of covers everything.
Have you
Love
tried
it.
NAD? NAD is really good for that too.
No, I
NAD
have not,
plus. Oh,
but I've heard of it.
it's great. I
Yeah.
love it. We're like really big. You could use it in, there are so many forms, but we usually will do injectable or IV, intravenous NAD, like NAD drips. So
So
those are
explain for the
great.
audience what NAD is.
Sure. NAD is a peptide. It helps with mitochondrial health and function. It's something that we naturally produce, NAD, but as we age, our mitochondria start to decline in their function, and therefore NAD levels drop. So NAD is a peptide, which is an amino acid chain, and it helps to increase the function of our mitochondria, and it helps basically every cell in our body to function at a more youthful level, but especially for brain focus, drive, clarity, that kind of thing. It helps people feel better. You have more energy. You're just able to think. You're a little bit quicker. It helps anyone that's older, anyone that is, you know, getting up there in age, really older than 40, most people could use it, and it's pretty helpful. I like to use NAD a lot. And another one I love is CJC. Do you know what CJC is? CJC 1295.
I've heard, so I hear all the names, but I don't know exactly what everything does
Yeah.
because that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure I've been privy to the information. Speak about what that is.
Yeah.
What does?
So CJC, it's a combo CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. So growth hormone secretagogue. So it helps you to actually produce, it helps your pituitary, it increases your pituitary, anterior pituitary, which is where growth hormones secreted. So it helps the pituitary to release more growth hormone. So growth hormone is produced naturally in our stage 3 of the sleep cycle. So in a deep sleep, our body produces growth hormone. So this helps. This is when children grow. This is when our muscles grow. It helps everything grow. It helps your brain. It helps your body just in its growth stage. So it helps decrease like visceral fat and increase muscle mass. So naturally, like it will help lean you out. So people love it
Now,
aesthetically too.
yeah. What are some? I'm just so excited that peptides, because, like I said, I've known folks like you for years that have educated me on some of these things and what would work best for me. And I found my way to peptides because I had experienced such adversity when I was starting up my business that I took on so much stress. I wasn't managing my stress properly.
Right.
And I took on alopecia areata. It's an autoimmune
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's a gut health thing and body
For
mind
sure.
connection. And
Yep.
I had
Brain
to.
gut access is
Oh
real.
yeah, I mean, like it ravaged me. So I was losing like my eyebrows and all the hair on the back of my head. I mean, I grew everything back with between BPC 157, PRP treatment. Have you ever
Yeah,
had
of
PRP?
course
Yeah.
we do PRP in my clinic here.
Amazing.
We
So
do,
that I
yeah,
cannot say enough good about PRP. It
yeah,
completely restored everything. Like I get I keep up on it too. So it's something that I'll always do because I
yes,
think, different people have different results, but I
yeah,
can attest that that worked for me.
yeah,
And so, and
great,
I can also attest like BPC 157, that works for me.
yes,
CMAX, that works for me. And all of these things, like I know, I mean, plenty of people want to look good and feel amazing and focus on weight loss and things like that. That's great too. But mine focus is always the brain function and being,
yeah,
an optimized human and things like that. But I
for
know
sure.
like, but weight loss is important too. What are some of the like for women? What are
Hmm.
like libido and weight loss? I think
Hmm.
are
Huge. Yeah.
huge. What are some of the things you focus on there?
Sure. So huge with women. I mean, like the decline of libido is so vastly, I mean, seen. So many women have that complaint, but they don't want to talk about it. It's not something that women generally speak to. And a lot of it does have to do with listen, it's multifaceted, right? It's not just hormones 100%. It's has a lot to do with, what's going on in their brain. They're thinking of a million things. Maybe their relationship isn't the greatest. They're not happy with themselves. They don't feel comfortable with their body, or they feel vulnerable being without clothing. So there's a lot, and we dive into all of it. That's why I spend like an hour and a half with each client the first time I meet them to really get into them. It's super personalized, it's precision medicine. It's like super focused on what their goals are, and then we tinker with, you know, those goals and what we can do. We might start with something. So libido, I mean, gosh, there are so many things. Hormones, obviously we start with hormones. So metabolic function, I mean, literally your metabolic function, insulin resistance is like the root cause of most negative chronic illnesses and mental illnesses. Truly,
Yeah.
if you've read the book, you should read the book Brain Energy if you haven't read it. It's by Chris Palmer. Amazing. So it really talks about mental health in depth, and how for some reason we view mental health differently than we view the rest of our body health, and why that is. Why is there such a disconnect? Because a lot of mental health is metabolic. Like some people called like Alzheimer's, diabetes type 3, right? These cognitive declines, they a lot have to do with like our metabolism in general, and how we're processing sugars or proteins, and how those proteins are kind of accumulating in the brain and causing these like negative neurologic effects, whether it be like depression, more severe mental illness, or even things as simple as like a little bit of anxiety. So I have a million women that come to me and they're like mid 40s, and they're like, all of a sudden I have anxiety. I never had anxiety my whole life. I never had anxiety. Now I can't sleep. I'm not sleeping. I have palpitations. I'm having panic attacks, like, and men too, same. And guess what? It's a hormonal issue. Like, and their doctors want to give them like an SSRI or something like that. And it's not a serotonin issue. It's a hormone issue. Just like postpartum, it's not a psych issue. It's literally a progesterone issue. Progesterone is one of the sex hormones that women, there's three actually: estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. Those are females' main sex hormones. But estradiol and progesterone is super responsible for like calming effect. It kind of chills you out. It decreases mood lability, anxiety state. When women are pregnant, their progesterone's at its highest. Like, and then literally you give birth and your progesterone drops to zero. So women have this postpartum illness with mental health. It looks like depression, baby blues. It's a progesterone issue. All they need is a little bit of bioidentical hormone. That's it. It's a hormone issue. So like we're viewing things as conventional medicine so wrong, really. And it's like, I mean, I have so many of these, I could tell you so many of these ideas, and that's just like one effect. But for women, I guess you asked me before, sorry, I got
No,
off
you're good.
track.
Everything you're saying right now is gold. It's so educational for the audience. Thank you for
Yeah,
saying all everything you're saying. Yeah.
of course. So like literally weight loss. Okay, what's the issue? We have to figure that out. So I start with lab work and I get an idea of, okay, is this an overeating issue? Maybe not. Maybe they're eating the same way they always ate and it's a hormonal issue. So testosterone drops. Women have testosterone just like men have testosterone. It's a super important hormone, and it is helpful, and it also helps. Now all the hormones are helpful, but it helps, decrease visceral fat and increase muscle mass. Muscle, we know, is a longevity organ, and it's the key to decreasing insulin resistance. The more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn at rest. So you can take a 150-pound woman, and if a woman with more muscle mass is going to burn like 4 to 5 times the amount of calories per day as the woman who has less muscle mass. So the goal is always be strong, not skinny. People think skinny is the thing, lose weight, but it's not a number thing. It's a fat to muscle ratio thing. So super important muscle. And we really go into that deep with women because we learned, my generation, I'm 43 years old, and it's like, what was my whole life I was taught, like, eat salads and run for cardio, eat as little as you can and run, and that's what's going to get you skinny. And I ran marathons for years and I was not in good shape. People would be like, "You're a marathon runner?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a marathon runner." And only once I started to eat more protein, I eat more. I mean, I'm 110 pounds now. I eat probably like 2,000, 2,200 calories a day, and the majority of that is protein. I eat so much protein. I'm eating constantly. People are like, "You eat all the time." Like,
Yeah.
and my body's I've never been more fit and had more muscle mass, and I've never looked as good in a bathing suit as I do now. And it's like, God, everything we were doing, everything we were taught, it's so backwards, really.
Yeah.
So it's like retraining my clients' brains and letting them know this is the way we're going to do things. And we're going to start slow and we're going to help you to understand. And also it's life, right? Like, live life a little bit. You don't have to, like, if you go to a wedding, eat the cake, like, enjoy life. It isn't
Good
like
point.
you have to follow this 100%. That's not like living life, right? So still enjoy life, just the majority of the time try to nourish your body with fuel that helps to keep it energized, really, and strong. So I
Just putting
think
in more good than bad.
absolutely. So testosterone's huge for women, for libido, all the sex hormones, progesterone, testosterone, estradiol, depending on where they are in their like menopausal stages, whether they're premenopausal, perimenopausal, or postmenopausal, we treat it a little differently. Thyroid's huge. So weight loss. Thyroid is your metabolism. It's like thyroid, oh my God. It's such a controversial topic and it's like so important because thyroid, I'd say, gosh, like 60% of women that come in and we do their labs, their thyroid, they have some form of thyroid dysfunction. Thyroid is responsible for also helping people to feel good. If there was one hormone that increased the quality of life, it would be, I would say, thyroid more than anything. And it's like people don't realize, they go to their doctor, oh, they're a normal thyroid, but no one's looking deep into all the thyroid numbers. They're not doing a comprehensive thyroid check. So metabolism and difficulty losing weight super linked to thyroid function as well. That's another hormone. So we have to look at that. Men go through andropause, women go through menopause. There's something called thyropause also, and a lot of people go through it, especially women. So
Wow, I've never even heard of thyropause.
yeah.
That's great that you focus on all these things. And what I love about a business like yours, because I've been connected to so many people that have similar business, in the men's space, um, is the personalized approach. Because, you go see your doctor, and I'm not trying to hate here, but I'm just saying, like, it's a different experience. You go see, your primary care physician, and there's just like, if you can even get an appointment these days, I mean, and it's not everybody has that experience, but trying to get an appointment is not easy these days. And then it's not as personalized. You're seeing someone, you're waiting for an hour in the waiting room, you get in for 5 minutes, and you don't really oftentimes feel, I hear it from many people all the time, and I've also felt that way. Like when I was going through the alopecia, I had a freaking amazing doctor treating my alopecia, and he went on to better things. I'm not shocked. And then the guy, I did not have anybody good come after him. They didn't care. There was no personalized approach. It was like I
I
felt
mean, it's
lost. That's
tough.
that's that's how I found my way to PRP, and I found my
Yeah.
way to wellness
Yes.
businesses like yours. And it was
Yeah.
like, thank God that these are starting to catch, more momentum these days.
Yeah.
And I love that there's both space for men and women.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of women too. Thyroid's starting to come up more in conversation as far as wellness in the women's arena, and that's really important that you're talking that you touch on that. Thank you
Right.
for sharing. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, women know their body. I think in a nutshell, this is what it comes down to. Women know themselves, right? So if someone comes, and it's tough, as you're saying, Once women get to me, usually they're so tired because they've gone to like their primary care doctor, their OBGYN, an endocrinologist, a million people, and everyone's like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're normal. And they're like, but I don't feel like myself. I feel like crap. I'm not sleeping. I'm overweight. I can't lose weight. I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the right things. I'm exercising, eating right, and they don't feel good and they're anxious and they have panic attacks and they have no libido. Like they
Yeah.
have no quality of life. And it's like, why don't we just try? Let's make a plan. Let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it some things. I'll try on someone. Let's see. You're borderline. Let's try this out. Let's give it 3 months. Let's see how you feel. If you feel
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. We'll continue. If you don't, we'll stop. But it's like we should want people to feel their best and do their best and be their best throughout life and live independently later in life. So that's a whole nother issue, how hormone function literally decrease your chances of like osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, cognitive function decline. That's like the cherry on top. And for me, being the science nerd, like it's all this feeling good, looking good, fine. But
Yep.
for me, it's when I look at people's lab work, what it looked like before they saw me, and then 6 months in, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, we're saving your life. Like,
Yeah.
literally, your numbers, your triglycerides are down, like, your cardiovascular function, your EKGs look great. You're so much quicker. Like, we do these, like, cognitive function tests, like, and it's so cool. Like, to me, that's like, it's everything. It's
Well,
awesome in every way.
all of this speaks to your bedside manner too, because I feel like that's lost in the medical field. And what I'm hearing is that you're validating people. You're hearing what they're saying. You're listening to their intuition into their concerns, and then you're putting it into the lab work and you're customizing that protocol for them. And
Yeah.
you're doing it together. It's not like you go see your doctor for 5 minutes. You're fine. Go for a walk. You know what I mean? Like I remember a doctor telling me, when when I got my alopecia diagnosis, it was, they said it was brought on by stress and they told me to stress less. And I'm like, that's your fucking advice. Stress less. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like in
Yeah.
that moment, I realized I was like, okay, it's up to me to figure this out. Like
Hmm.
I don't have a physician that's going to have any answers for me. And it was like, I Googled that, like, alopecia, and I think it's like 2% of the population get that. And there isn't even a med. Maybe there is now, but back then they didn't have anything. You couldn't get anything. And insurance didn't cover treatment for anything regarding that because it wasn't like recognized enough. You know what I
Right.
mean? As a thing.
Yeah.
So that's when, I was like, wow, you really got to start doing research. You got to start finding wellness practices like yours and
Yeah.
other hormone, replacement therapy agencies that are looking to walk through it with you. Take the
Yeah.
time to do that. It's, like just like I said, you can be waiting in the waiting room for an hour to see a practitioner, and then you see them for 5 minutes and you don't, they didn't hear anything you said. They're looking on their in their Google journal for
Exactly. Well,
whatever med to prescribe you.
they have probably 50 people to see that day, so they can't possibly give personalized,
No,
attention to anything. They won't know
right.
you when you walk out the door, and that's unfortunate. This is what our healthcare systems come to, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is, and I do know that they, that definitely I'm sure their patient rosters are through the roof, but that's not my concern. My healthcare is my concern. So
Exactly.
that's when you take your power back, you put it in your own hands, and like, you know, businesses like yours are starting to pop up, and I'm just fortunate to have like been affiliated with people that could educate me on that. That's why like a huge part of my podcast was to talk about things like this,
Yeah.
have guests like you on that are educated and want to help others. The aesthetics are a nice bonus, but it's not the main focus.
Yeah.
It's your overall optimal health and your brain function that matter the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think what you're doing is great. And so, how does the year look for your YouTube channel? You're launching,
Ooh,
or
just getting started. Yes. So hopefully we'll be launching within the next month. I just have a few little things to iron out, but
yeah,
yeah, we'll be, focusing on probably different topics each you know, stream. So we'll see.
yeah. Well, I think it's great. I think that I'm hoping that people like you start taking over YouTube, because you can't have enough good information like this. Just all the things that you spoke about. And when you get cooking on a topic, I love this about you. Like when you get going, when you were cooking with grease, talking about these topics that you're so educated and passionate about, it's like, man, you give me the goosebumps, because you know what's up, and you know that you want to help people and you
Yeah,
want them to feel their best. And that
absolutely.
shows through. Yeah, I
Thank
like
you.
that. So yeah, YouTube is going to be a great platform for you. I mean, everybody that has Instagram, I think is, kind of now finding their way over to YouTube.
Hmm.
And it's a great platform. It's definitely a space to share your education,
Yes,
on these
absolutely.
topics.
Thank you. I hope to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So now, what are all your handles? You have multiple
Oh, yeah.
handles. You have Instagram, Facebook.
Yes, I have Instagram. That's Nicole's Alpha House. And then I have, I think Facebook, I'm just Nicole Waterhouse right now. That's kind of
Okay.
our current. And then YouTube, I don't know yet. I know I just made the I just made the page, so I forgot. It might be Dr. Nicole Waterhouse. I don't know. Something like
Well,
that.
we can figure that out at a later
Figure it
date.
out.
And
Exactly.
yes, and you'll have to come back and when you get some content cooking on that channel. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll have to share it. I'll be happy to share it on my platforms too. Um, So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom you can offer to the audience, women especially?
Yes. I guess, I would say just live your life the way you want. Anything is possible. And really, you can be anything at all in the world that you want to be. It's never too late. Just start today. Don't worry. It's past the first of the year. Just go do it. Start. And if you need help, you know where to find me.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, the beautiful Nicole Waterhouse, thank you so much for joining us today in the studio. And we'll definitely be having you back on the show for more wellness and optimal brain health tips. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Mike. Good to see you again.
You too. All right, guys, that's a wrap.